Hi, I'm an Opera, a front-end developer at Eau de Web, and in this video I'll present a feature I added to the dataset editor for the Copernicus line monitoring service. A bit of background: in CLMS, we organize data into products, and each product contains one or more datasets. Some of these datasets also belong to families, which are groups of related datasets that make sense to cluster together under one common label. To help editors assign datasets to the right family and to make filtering and grouping easier, I added a new field called Family Title. This is a choice field with a drop-down. It lets the editors assign a dataset to a predefined family based on the product the dataset belongs to. So for example, this dataset that I'm adding belongs to the product water bodies. So each family in the drop-down is defined under the water bodies product. The values in the drop-down come from a taxonomy, which defines what families exist under each product. So for the field, I opted to use a taxonomy so that any changes or updates related to the families can be made at any time without the need for another list. This field is dynamic in the sense that if a dataset's product has families defined in the taxonomy, the dropdown receives from the backend only those families. And we can see that in the dropdown we have only 4 options, and that the dataset belongs to the water body families. So if we were to go in the backend in the taxonomy view, we can see that the values that the dropdown receives are the ones under the water bodies ID in the taxonomy. If the product doesn't have any families defined in the taxonomy, then the dropdown still appears, but it's empty. So this is how it works. First, the field is defined in the dataset schema. It's a choice field, and it uses the vocabulary defined here in this class. So this class generates the vocabulary for the family title field. So first, for this to work, we have to find out which product the dataset belongs to. We do this by looking at the URL the request came from. So based on the site structure, all the product names are preceded by /products. For example, in our case, our extracted product ID would be water bodies. But if the URL doesn't include /product, that means we cannot extract a product ID, and we treat it as none. Next, we have to load the full taxonomy tree, which contains all the products and their families. Then we have to filter the data received from the taxonomy based on the product ID value. If we do not know the product, in which case we are here, where the product ID is none, we show families from all products. This is done because sometimes the request comes from an URL that doesn't contain /products, and it's used as a failsafe so we don't encounter errors. So this case is handled by the find all products taxonomy function, which gathers all the children from the taxonomy. But if we do know the product, then we are in this case where we are using the find matching taxonomy function. What this function does is that it traverses the taxonomy nodes and tries to find a key which matches with our parent ID, which means that our parent has family titles in the taxonomy. And if we find a node like this, then it means that we have to return the children, because the children are the relevant families that we want to show in the front end. But if you cannot find such a node in the taxonomy, then we return an empty list. And finally, we use the traverse taxonomy function, which is a recursive function that works through the filtered taxonomy tree and builds displayable drop-down entries using a simple term. And for the values, it uses the family titles ID from the taxonomy and the full title of the family.